Welcome to How to Play Ambient Guitar, Episode 10. Today we're going to be looking at how to leverage polyphonic pitch shifters to create interesting and complex ambient guitar chords. So, grab your pitch shifter and let's get to work. In this episode, I'm going to be using the Electro-Harmonix Pitchfork, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a polyphonic pitch shifter. You're not limited to the Pitchfork. There are a bunch of other similar devices out on the market today. There's the Eventide Pitch Factor, the Boss PS6 Harmonist, and the Earthquaker Pitch Bay, just to mention a few. And what I'll do is include links in the video notes below to several different pitch shifting devices that will essentially do the types of things that we're going to review in this video. All right, next let's just review briefly the signal chain. I'm using the same basic signal path as in the earlier episodes of How to Play Ambient Guitar. If you haven't checked out the series, go ahead and check it out. There's a lot of interesting information there. So what I've got is my guitar going into a compressor, and then I've got the signal going through the Electro-Harmonix Pitchfork into my volume pedal, and then finally into a delay. And in my case, I'm using the Strymon Dig. All right, so what we're going to do is check out the use of pitch shifting in several different ways. We're going to examine octaves in use with chords. We're going to examine the use of perfect fifths, also with chords, and then also, finally, perfect fourths. And what I'm going to do is use the chord progression that I've reviewed with everyone in earlier episodes of How to Play Ambient Guitar. So let me go ahead and play that without the pitch shifter so you can just hear what it is. I am going to leave the compressor and the delay on and do some ambient guitar swells. I'm going to be playing E minor to G to C. Here we go. All right, pretty straightforward. I'm not going to review the chord structure. Again, if you want to check that out, in particular, look at episode 2 of How to Play Ambient Guitar. All right, so how can we spice this chord structure up? The first thing we can do is use our pitch shifter to add in an octave. So I've got my pitchfork set up for an octave right now, so let me go ahead and turn it on. And what we're going to hear when I play the chord structure is one octave above each note in the chord along with the original note. Here we go. Okay, that's kind of nice. Now, the chord structure is still the basic chord structure, right? But I've got that nice kind of angelic, airy high end on top. The pitchfork, along with many other devices, allows you also to create an interval below the original note. So let me go ahead and switch it over and let's try that out. Again, this will be one octave below. Now that's really nice too. With the lower tone, you almost get like an organ type of effect into the chord progression. The pitchfork, again, just about everybody else does this too, allows you, in addition to the pitch above and the pitch below, it allows you to add both the pitch above and below to the original note. Let me switch this to do just that. Here we go. Let's check this out. So we're going to be hearing the original note, octave above and octave below. Okay, so, you know, I hear that effect a lot in many different types of ambient guitar music. I won't mention any particular artists, but if you listen to an array of ambient guitar players, you've probably heard the octave effect quite often. And it's very nice, no doubt. But with these polyphonic pitch shifting devices, you can do a lot more than just dividing octaves. So what I'd like to do now is look at using perfect fifths to create more complex chords. What is a perfect fifth? If you know about music theory, this is old hat, so you can tune out for 5 seconds. But for those of you who may not be familiar with a perfect fifth, it's basically this. Whatever note you have, in this case an E, just take that note and play on the 7th fret, so it's 7 half steps above, and that's a perfect fifth. So that would be essentially, 5 notes, if you will, 5, regular notes above, or 7 semi-pitches above. Okay, so here, and when you play them together, here's the E, and then the B, which would be the perfect fifth above an E. So the interesting thing is when you play a chord with an interval of a perfect fifth, in essence, you're playing a chord 1/5 above your original chord. If I'm playing, say, an E major, and then I have the pitch shifter on and I'm playing a full E major chord, I'm going to also hear a B major. Oops, sorry. Let me do that again. E major, and I'm going to hear that B major on top of it at the same time. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and turn the pitch shifter on, and then I'm going to set it to a perfect fifth. We should hear the E major with the B major on top. Can you hear that? It's let me bring up the blend here a little bit. You can kind of hear it. It's all blended together. You'll hear that chord with this chord. And let me go ahead and just play one note. There, you can really hear it, the E and the B above. All right, so when we add that to our ambient chord progression, okay, so we'll add it to that, and let's see what we get. Wow, I really like that. And if you listen to much Chords of Orion music, you will hear some pitch shifting with perfect fifths in some of the ambient guitar swells in some of my songs. I like that a lot. In this particular chord progression, you almost get a major 7th feel when you add in the fifth above, this chord right here. Right, so that is a C, right? So let me add in that fifth. It's really nice. And the great thing is I am still only playing 2 notes. When I add in the pitch shifting, I get 4 notes, which is really great. So you still get that note separation that you want for use in delays, but you get a lot more complexity. Now, what I'd like to do now is add in the lower note, which will be an octave below the pitch shift note. So what I'm going to end up with, at least with the Electro-Harmonix device, is a fifth above the original note and a perfect fourth below. All right, that is very nice. It's very beautiful, and it's quite complex, with 3 notes essentially being played for each note in the chord along the chord progression. So there's a lot you can do with that. And the nice thing about the perfect fifth interval is that you still maintain the basic feel for the chord. For example, an E chord, with the perfect fifth above and the perfect fourth below, is still going to feel like an E chord. So it doesn't really change the tonality of your chords in terms of what they actually are. It's still, in this case, it's an E to a G to a C, but a much more complex version of them. All right, so let's move on to the perfect fourth interval. Now, so we said that the perfect fifth was the 7-fret interval. Perfect fourth is a little bit closer. It's the 5th fret interval, so 4 tones above. So if we were to play 2 together, that would be an E and an A. All right, so let's hear what that sounds like. Now that is different, isn't it? By adding in that perfect fourth above, I've just really changed the tonal root of the chord. So let's check that out without the pitch shifter and without the delay. Here's my E minor. Let's add in the perfect fourth. All of a sudden, the tonality kind of shifted to A instead of E. Check that out again. So it's more like an A minor, even though I'm playing an E minor. That's pretty cool. So you can use the same chord shapes, and by using something like the perfect fourth interval, shift the whole tonality, the center of the tonality of your chord progression. Let's hear that again. And now, let's hear it with the pitch shifter with the lower tone brought in. That's very complex, to my mind, and it's really interesting to play around with as you're building an ambient guitar song, because you can build your chord structure maybe for the first part of the song, kick in the pitch shifter with a perfect fourth interval, play the same chord structure, same progression, and entirely shift the tonal center. So just briefly, let's review what we've looked at. We've looked at perfect fourths, perfect fifths, and 1 octave. Same chords, 3 different tonalities. So there you have it. Using a pitch shifter really does allow you to create interesting and complex chord structures. And, it really can enhance your ambient guitar music. Please subscribe to my channel. I've got ambient guitar related content coming every week on Wednesdays. And as always, I'll see all of you on the next video.